Greetings. My name is Eric Farmer. I'm with the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. I want to apologize first off for not being able to be with you today. But hopefully I'll be able to give you quite a bit of information about the financial aid process. This is like a financial aid 101 to help funding a college education. I'm going to try to make this as interesting and informative as possible and a little entertaining. I'll be going over quite a bit of stuff, so if you have questions or would like this presentation in a PDF version sent to you, my contact information is going to be at the very end of this presentation. So let's get going. For those of you who are seniors, this is your senior year checklist. For those of you who are juniors, sophomores, freshmen, where you see apply, replace that with research. Of course, right now you cannot apply for anything, or not a lot of things. There might be a few things you can do now. There are some scholarships out there that freshmen, sophomores, and juniors can apply for, but there's not that many. So in most cases, you'll just be researching. But seniors, what you want to do is take or retake your ACT or SAT. Make sure you have the proper score, just not for admissions purposes, but also scholarship purposes. You want to start applying to colleges and universities and utilize their net price calculator. The net price calculator is going to give you an idea of how much it's going to cost you to attend a particular institution. You also want to start applying for local and private scholarships. There are quite a few private scholarships out there, national scholarships, whose deadlines that are coming up fairly shortly. The ones locally tend not to come up as deadlines until the end of the year, or you're actually not going to see them until the end of the year, beginning of next year. So you need to start doing that research now. In the spring, seniors, you'll be filling out your FAFSA for the first time. You'll be able to fill it out January 1st of 2015, and you'll be filling out the 2015-16 FAFSA. It's not available now, and it won't be available till midnight on January 1st of 2015. You'll also want to continue to complete local and private scholarships, and then around late March, early April, you'll receive financial aid award letters, acceptance letters, award letters for scholarships. What you want to do is read those, make sure you understand them, ask questions, call people to make sure that you get your questions answered, and also send them back and return them acceptances before the particular deadline, because you don't want to miss out on money, nor do you want to miss out on your space at institutions if you don't get those back to the institutions at a proper time. Here we have a bunch of different terms, several different terms that you'll hear in the financial aid world. The first one is COA, cost of attendance. It is what it is, how much it costs to attend a particular institution. Of course, it varies from institution to institution. There are two types of cost of attendance. There is the official cost that is posted on the institution's website. And then there's your cost, which is what you actually pay to the institution. The two can be, and most of the time, are different. So you want to figure out what your cost of attendance is, because once you know that, you know exactly how much financial aid you'll need to pay for school, or at least have a close idea of how much financial aid you'll need to pay for school. EFC stands for Expected Family Contribution. This is a number that is determined when you fill out the FAFSA. So in January, if you decide to fill out the FAFSA then, you'll put all this information in, and at the very end of the FAFSA, it will show you a number. That number is going to be the EFC. That number determines if you qualify for need-based money. That number range is from 0 to $99,999. The lower that number on your FAFSA, the better chance you're receiving need-based money. In order to sign off on your FAFSA, you have a personal identification number, or PIN. Each student will need a PIN, and the parent will need a PIN. One parent in the household will need a PIN. This is how you sign off on your FAFSA. Now skip the actual term FAFSA, which stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Once again, FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. All right. So, the reason why that is important is because it is free. I've been doing this for TSAC since 2009, and every year I have either heard of or actually met someone who paid to submit the FAFSA. It is a free application. You really don't need to pay. However, if you're dying to pay, my name is Eric Farmer. I take cash, checks, credit cards, and I also like food. Lasagna and anything chocolate, to be exact. Once you fill out your FAFSA and sign off on it with your PIN, you'll get a student aid report 3 days later, or SAR. The SAR is a summary of everything you put on your FAFSA, and also will show if there are any errors in your FAFSA. So you definitely want to check the SAR out. When you hear the term financial aid, think of grants, loans, and scholarships. All three are financial aid. Grants are free money based upon household need. This is where the EFC is going to come into play. Loans, of course, is money that you borrow that you got to pay back with interest. And you want to use your loans as a last resort. So find the free money first. And then if you have a gap, you want to look at the loans. And then you have scholarships, which is free money based upon the student's merit, skill, or unique characteristics. There's several different scholarships out there, and you have to do quite a bit of research to find them. That's why you want to talk to your guidance counselors. You want to start researching online. You want to look at scholarship databases, things like that, and I'll get into that a little bit later in this presentation. Verification is an audit of your FAFSA. If you're selected, about a third of the individuals who fill out that FAFSA are selected, you will have to submit some type of information dealing with your taxes. There is an easier process, and the closer we get to the FAFSA time, I'll be able to explain that. And then there's a work study program, which is money received from campus employment. The student will actually be working on campus, and the federal government will set aside money for that student in the form of a paycheck. So as the student works, the student will get a paycheck. This is different than most financial aid in the fact that most other financial aid of grants, loans, and scholarship go to the school first, pay for the direct costs, and if there's anything left over, the student gets a refund check. Where the work study program, the money is actually set aside intentionally for the student to work on campus. So when we look at cost of attendance, most students just look at the tuition and say, sweet, I can afford this school. But there's 5 other factors sitting there that they don't tend to recognize or keep in mind or forget about. So when you look at your cost of attendance, you need to look at all 6 factors: tuition, room and board, fees, books, travel expenses, and personal expenses. All of that is cost of attendance. And you can actually go online and look at the different institutions and see them highlighted the same way as you see here in this slide here. These are actual schools in Tennessee. You have a 2-year public, which is actually Chat State. You have a 4-year public, which is University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And then you have a Tennessee private, or what we call, and we slash out of state, because if you go out of state to a public institution, more than likely you'll be paying the same amount, or around the same amount as you would be if you're going to Vanderbilt University, and that's what the last column is. So if you are looking to see what your cost of attendance is, you can actually go to one of these websites or any of those other colleges that you're looking at and see a listing of the tuition, the room and board, the other fees, the books and supplies, the transportation costs, and miscellaneous, and come up with your personal cost of attendance. Once you figure out your personal cost of attendance, you need to come up with a financial aid package or try to get a financial aid package to cover your cost of attendance. There's not that many full ride scholarships out there. There are some out there, and if you come across them, you definitely want to apply for them. However, there's not that many. So you got to look at several different places to come up with a package to cover your cost of attendance. So you're going to be looking at the institution, you're going to at private sources, you're going to at the federal government, you're going to at the state. When you look at the institution has their own set of financial aid money. They have academic scholarships, which tend to be competitive. They have need-based scholarships based upon your EFC. They have performance scholarships based upon some type of skill that the student has. And they have attribute scholarships based upon some type of characteristic that the student belongs to or has. And you want to check those out at those institutions as well. When you look for private aid, as I mentioned earlier, you want to start off looking in the guidance office with your school counselor. See what they have posted, see what they have coming in. If they have a website, check out their website. But you also want to look at other high school websites, which is not illegal or unethical, because all you're doing is looking at those websites as resources. If you have the qualifying factors to apply for those scholarships on those other websites, feel free to do so. Now, of course, if you are looking at a high school website and it says there's a scholarship specific for those high school graduates, of course, you cannot apply for those because you're not part of that high school. But if you meet the other qualifications for those scholarships, you can apply for those scholarships. You also want to look at scholarship databases and search engines, which is like College for TN is a search engine, FastWeb is a database. With the databases, you will set up an account where you'll put in a profile of the intended major, where you live, where you might want to go to school, the type of school size that you want to attend, and other factors like that. And they'll start emailing you scholarships in their database that you might qualify for. My word of advice is to set up a secondary email account just for scholarship databases. And also, students, you want to also get a professional email account, because your email address is going to be a factor of how a school or a scholarship entity is going to judge you. A lot of times they have no idea who you are, and the first time they meet you is on a piece of paper. If that email address is not professional and is weird, I've seen one called Twerk Queen or Sexy Mama or something like that, you might want to change your email address and get a more professional one. So, this means what again? Free, right. So, seniors, the free application for federal student aid. The first time you can fill it out is January 1st of 2015. You'll be filling out the 2015-16 FAFSA. It's important that you go to FAFSA.gov, FAFSA.gov. This is the free site. You go anywhere else, you will be paying about $80 to submit your FAFSA. You want to submit your FAFSA as soon as possible after January 1st, because there is money out there that is on a first-come, first-served basis if you qualify for it. Now, one question you might have is, if the FAFSA is a tax-based form, how can I fill it out before my taxes are done? You can use either previous year's tax information, especially if the income hasn't changed from year to year, or you can use your last paycheck stub to estimate your FAFSA. Once you file your taxes, you need to go back into your FAFSA and update that information. When you fill out your FAFSA, you are applying for the federal Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunities Grant, or SEOG, and the Work Study Program. The Pell Grant has a EFC range, and once again, the lower that EFC, the better chance of receiving need-based money or the Pell Grant. If you have a 0 EFC, you will get 5730. If you have a 5157 EFC, you'll get 602, and both of those are per year figures. The SEOG is based upon exceptional financial need. Once again, the lower your EFC, the better chance of receiving that money. But that money ranges from anywhere from $100 per year to $4,000 per year. And then, of course, the work-study program, which I mentioned earlier, is paid directly to the student. It's also based upon exceptional financial need, but the amount varies from institution to institution. So if you qualify for it in one institution and qualify for it in another, the amount that you're going to get varies from those two institutions, could vary from those two institutions. So you want to double check and make sure how much you're getting from each. You're also applying for the federal loan program, the subsidized and unsubsidized. Subsidized means that the interest does not accrue while the student's in school. Subsidized means the interest does not accrue while the student's in school. Unsubsidized means that the interest does accrue while the student's in school. So when the student graduates, the student will owe the loan plus the interest. And then, of course, you have the federal Parent Plus loan, which requires an additional application other than the FAFSA. So, I know everybody has heard about this program by now, the Tennessee Promise Program. The partnering organization for this area is Tennessee Achieves, and they'll be responsible for setting up the different meetings, getting the mentors together, and other facets of the program. Here's a checklist of the program. In order to qualify, you must first apply at tnpromise.gov by November 1st. This is the application for the Tennessee Promise program. The next thing you have to do is fill out your FAFSA before February 15th. Like I said, the earlier you do it, the better. And that way you can go ahead and get it in. There are 2 mandatory meetings that you must attend, or that the student must attend. Those meetings have already been set. One is before March 1st, the other one is before May 31st. And you'll get more information about that once you fill out your application, that there's going to be another meeting at the school later in the fall. Then the student has to complete 8 hours of community service between January 1st and August 1st of 2015. If they do all that, along with applying to a eligible school, which would be a community college, the Tennessee College of Applied Technology, or a 4-year university that offers an associate degree program, and the student enrolls in that associate's degree program. If you do all that, you have qualified for the Tennessee Promise. There is not an ACT requirement. There is not a GPA requirement. There is not an income requirement. All you have to do is those steps, and then you qualify. So the way it works, let's say you have 3 students trying to go to a community college whose tuition is $4,000 per year. Under the word tuition, you see 3 other words or 3 other acronyms: Pell, TAILS, and TSAA. Pell, of course, is the Pell Grant. TAILS is actually the Hope Scholarship. And TSAA is the Tennessee Student Assistance Award, which is our state grant. Before Tennessee Promise covers tuition, those 3 financial aid programs will be used first, and then whatever's left over, Promise will cover. So let's look at Student A. Student A is getting $57.30, and that's actually the Pell Grant max. Now, just to explain, Tennessee Promise is only a last dollar scholarship toward tuition. So it's going to cover only what's remaining for tuition. So because the student A has $57.30, there's not a gap for Tennessee Promise to cover. Student B is only getting $3,000 of that money. So there's a $1,000 gap. Student C is getting nothing or 0 from that money. So there's a $4,000 gap. So when you look at what Tennessee Promise will cover, well, for student A, it won't cover anything. Student B, it covers 1,000. Student C, it covers 4,000. And even though student A is not getting anything, they're still Tennessee Promise eligible. So if they do the retaining work, which is actually 8 hours of community service before each semester, and let's say their financial aid is reduced, let's say they don't get the full amount of the Pell, the Tennessee Promise will kick in on whatever they don't cover in the tuition. But none of these students will have to pay tuition to go to a community college. So also, when you fill out the FAFSA, you're applying for the Hope Scholarship. The Hope Scholarship at a 2-year institution is $1,500 per semester. And the reason why we say per semester is because of you can use the scholarship during the summer. You still need a 3.0 GPA and a 21 ACT score. If a student has a 29 ACT score and a 3.75 GPA, they will qualify for the GAMS, or the General Assembly Merit Scholarship. That will be an additional $500 on top of what they get for the Hope. If a student's household adjusted gross income is $36,000 or less, they'll get the Aspire Award, which is an additional $250 on top of the Hope. Now, unfortunately, if the student is eligible for GAMS and Aspire, they only get one, and in this case, they'll get the GAMS. If the student decides to go to a 4-year institution, the Hope Scholarship Program is a little different. For their freshman and sophomore classification, the student will receive $1,750 per semester, and for their junior and senior classification, they will receive $2,250 per semester. Now, pay attention to my words. I'm saying freshman and sophomore classification and junior and senior classification. So as long as they're classified as a freshman or sophomore, they're getting the $1,750. When they are classified as a junior and senior, they're going to get $2,250. The GAMS amount is the same. However, the Aspire Award amount is different. It went up $500 at a 4-year institution, but the same requirements are the requirements are the same. There's also the Hope Access Grant, just in case you don't have a 3.0 or 21 ACT score, but you have an 18 ACT, a 2.75 GPA, and your household adjusted gross income is $36,000 or less. You get $875 per semester at a community college, or $1,250 per semester at a 4-year university. This gives a student one more chance to receive the Hope, because if they qualify for the Hope Access and have at least a 2.75 GPA after their first 24 attempted hours at a university or a community college, they'll get rolled over to the Hope Scholarship. There's the Walden Nafee Technical Skills Grant for anyone going to a Tennessee Technology Center. It's an automatic $2,000 per year if they enroll into a certificate or diploma program at the TCAT. And then there's a Tennessee Student Assistance Award. If a student has a 0 EFC, they can receive the TSAA. If they go to a TCAT, it's $1,000 per year. If they go to a community college, it's $1,300 per year. If they go to a state 4-year institution, it is $2,000 a year. And then if they go to a private institution like Tennessee Temple, Vanderbilt, Belmont, Lee University, or someplace like that, it's $4,000 a year. We have some other scholarships that you can find online. The Anemic Orders, the Dependent Children's Scholarship, and of course the Dual Enrollment Grant. But there's more information about those in our brochures, which your guidance counselor should have in their office, or they might have brought to this meeting. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions or would like to follow us, you can like us on Facebook at the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation. You can follow us on Twitter at TN Financial Aid, or you can check out our website at tn.gov/collegepays, or you can follow me as well. This is my email address and my cell phone number, along with my Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube account, and you can find me at efarmertsacse. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Hope it was informative. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you, and have a good day.